Hey there, guys. This is Levi from Masculine Intuition Readings, and I came on here because I was talking to Miranda of the Boutique London, and I was like, she had this thing up in her stories where people were asking her questions about, all kinds of tarot stuff, and someone had asked, I want to know more about how to read the court cards because, they're difficult to read. And I have to agree, when I started, reading tarot, it was very much that sense of, I'm opening boxes while I'm talking. Sorry, I could act like I actually know how to present this as a proper show, but I just, am not good at it. So, whatever. But yeah, so this person had this question like, core cards are difficult. How do I read them? And then when you usually read like little white books, like this one I'm holding right here, it's very much always, I'm going to check if it's right. Yeah, it's with this edition, this is from the Centennial Borderless edition. It's not as bad, but it's usually very much, oh yeah, this is an older man with dark hair who is very much like this and this and this. So we very much get personality traits, and those are still important. A lot of people discredit that because it kind of is linked to a more fortune tellery style of reading, which is kind of looked down upon nowadays. And I have to say that the more people are starting to look down upon it, the more I'm gravitating towards it. I've been doing a lot of research lately about the background of where tarot has come from. This is a great book for that. Tarot and divination cards, probably one of the most comprehensive guides when it comes to more historical tarot. There's so many great historical decks in here as well. But there's a lot about the history of the tarot in here. Is it like the quintessential guide with every bit of information ever in it? No, but it's a pretty hefty, as you can see, hefty book, and it's interesting. I would even say it's more interesting than Taschen's release, which I also own. It's somewhere over there. Excuse the mess, by the way. So, I started getting more into that. I actually recently started translating, and I finished it, and I've already sent it to print. Let's see if I can find it. I found this deck in this book right here, The Hieroglyphic Tarot of Madame de Laura de la Haye. I may or may not have shown this on here before. This is what those cards look like. They're sort of a majors only deck, but not really, because you're supposed to lay out 3 cards. Each card has like a suit sigil connected to them. So the middle card is the card you read. The cards to the left and the right tell you which corresponding message you have to read, either from the top box and the bottom box. So that's kind of how that works. And while translating that, I was very much kind of intrigued by, that whole fortune teller aspect. So, reading the court cards like that, this is a man, it's this, he looks like that, this is what he behaves like, this is what he likes, this is what he dislikes. Personifying the court cards, I used to do that a lot. So I studied tarot with some Dutch chick who's actually pretty cool. She taught me so much. And she also very much personified all the courts, which can help. If that works for you, that's right. But it wasn't until and this is my favorite tarot book, and I can't wait to reread it again. Because it's such a fun book to read front to back. When I started reading Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, that's when I was like, holy shit, this is how court cards work in the Thoth. and this is how I want to read court cards for the rest of my life. So let me tell you how that works. For the Thoth, it's princess, prince, queen, knight, and that's really interesting. So the court cards aren't necessarily persons, but they're more considered these energies and combinations of energies and almost kind of alchemical combinations of energies. So for example, the Knight of Wands, which in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck would be the King of Wands, in the Thoth deck it is the Knight of Wands, because, you know, they changed the titles, is always fire of fire. So Knight of Wands, all the knights or kings are always fire of. Knight of Cups is fire of water. Wands is fire of fire. You know, you kind of get the gist. These are not in order in the book. They're in an order, but not the order I like. Knight of Swords is fire of air. So all the knights are fire of, all the queens are water of, all the princes are air of, all the princesses are earth of. I am very much used to this right now. I know that those correspondences also exist for the Rider-Waite-Smith. However, I believe that king and the knight's properties in the Rider-Waite-Smith are switched around. I still choose to read them the Thoth way because I really like reading like that. I really prefer reading the court cards as energies. So let me look for an example in this deck so I can show you how I would read that. So let's say I was reading the Thoth, and I'm gonna show you my favorite one. Let's see. Yeah, Knight of Cups is a really good one. Oh, I love the way the Queen of Wands looks. Oh man. So that's also a very good one because they are similar. And then I'm going to have to look for my favorites because I have two favorites. Actually, like, I always used to really hate the court cards in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but Lady Frida Harris in the Thoth deck made them so much more exciting to look at, which is why I think I prefer the Thoth to the Rider-Waite-Smith when it comes to reading the court cards. So say, for example, you pull the Queen of Wands, which is water of fire, which is really interesting because, you know, water usually extinguishes fire. Fire is a very intense energy. Very good. Fire amazes. Fire sparks creativity. But fire can also burn you up. And where the water comes in, you know, that kind of, you know, extinguishes that fire a little bit. You know, the coals may still be smoldering after, you know, she's doused it with her water, but she's there to very matronly guide you through your creative process and but extinguish that fire a little bit, because when that fire becomes too hot, you know, especially when you like think of it in the desert, when that fire burns too hot, it may turn that sand into glass, and glass is, you know, still. Glass doesn't do anything. Glass can't move. So that's kind of how I would read. And I say she a lot, but, you know, that's just because I'm so used to all these old-fashioned gender norms. But this is not a gender. This is an energy. And energy is genderless, I think. I still use the terms masculine and feminine energies a lot. I don't believe that those are attached to any gender at all. I feel like I have a lot of masculine energies, and I also feel like I have a lot of feminine energies, and so does everyone. Some have more of, you know, one, and some have more of the other, but so that's kind of how I read court cards. So if I were to pull this in a reading, I would be like, you know, if someone just wanted me to pull them a card and I pulled this, I was like, ooh, you may want to tone that down a little bit. You know, if it wasn't in a spread, it was just this card, you may want to, you're in that creative process right now, you're in that, like, sensual growth kind of, which is amazing for you, and you're creating a lot, which is really good. However, you may want to extinguish that fire a little bit before it gets burnt out. So that's how I would read that, rather than a red-haired woman will enter your life around this and this time, and she will do this and that for you. You could read like that. I mean, if that's the way you read, I believe you are completely valid. There are so many European families that have this cartomancy tradition that has been in their family from generation on generation on generation, that do read like that, that still very much are predictive readers. I like doing a little bit of prediction every now and then, and I'm getting more and more into it because I find it fascinating. But I don't know. For some reason, when I read court cards, I love this Aleister Crowley Thoth method. Another one that I love is the Queen of Swords. So she's water of air. So she's water of air. When we breathe, so this is all very alchemical. I love her. She's a ruthless bitch. She has that head of that man cut off. Stop being so blurry, camera. Yeah. She has that head of that man that she's cut off in her hand. And she's just straight up chilling because she's water of air. You know, that air goes through our lungs, but when we exhale, we release so many particles of water into the air, you know, sort of like spit. She is that queen of communication. She rules the lungs. She rules the water in our lungs. She rules the water in our mouths. She rules that. She makes it comfortable for us to speak. Very, very important. So what she's saying basically is, and once again, I'm using those gender binary terms. I'm very sorry about that. It's just the way I was raised. What this energy is saying is, use your words wisely. You know, be very careful about what you're about to say, because it may not end well for you. Choose your communication wisely. Once again, very much a matronly energy, which I adore. Knight of Cups or King of Cups, which will be fire of water. And that's actually really interesting because we don't have a lot of fire and water, but we do have, for example, more up north, we do have those geysers and hot springs. Geysers ready, about to burst. So when we see this energy, it's very much that hot water that's about to burst through the surface up into the sky, because action is required. You know, the Knights are very active. It's all about ruling that element, basically. So fire of water is very intense emotional energy. Fire of water, also that steam. Steam can be very nourishing. Steam can also be too hot to handle, maybe even. So, you know, whenever you would pull this card, for example, if you did like a Celtic cross, and then there's always that one card that's a significator, if that were to be the Knight of Cups, I would be like, okay, fire of water. You're being a bit too hot to handle right now. You may wanna, you know, there's very much that, you know, emotional, active energy, looking for love, looking to get your emotions out, you know, very much that. Almost about to burst. Maxine, I'm about to burst. Hold that in. Like, well, or maybe not. Maybe you need to let that all out. You know, do what feels right for you, but you know, I would personally try to find a way to get those emotions out, like maybe when you're home alone, scream them into an empty paper bag and, you know, throw it away. Because, you know, you may hurt people or scare people, you know? Another one of my faves is the Knight of Discs, because I love the way he's depicted. So he would be Fire of Earth, which is interesting because Fire of Earth, I always think about the technique of the scorched earth. Whenever you know, whenever you set land ablaze, it's obviously devastating, but it also creates room for new life to grow. That soil can become extremely fertile, which is interesting because that's, I feel like, what the Knight or King of Pentacles or Discs is all about. So that's actually a fabulous reading for that card. So once again, energy. That's how I read him. My favorite of all the quartz is the Princess of Discs. She's the lowest on the Tree of Life. I've spoken about this many times before. She's the lowest of the low. Like, also the discs element in the Thoth Tarot is, they're all important, but the discs are way down at the bottom. We're all supposed to reach up to the sky. You know, air is always very high, fire is always very high, water is, you know, a bit in the middle and high, but earth is like rock bottom. It's not interesting. We're supposed to ascend. But then Aleister Crowley put this gorgeous Princess of Discs in there, who is the lowest card on the Tree of Life. She has her work cut out for her. She has to climb all the way up to the top. Or does she? Because she's actually, the Tree of Life, life is a cycle, right? So when she's at the bottom and she has to climb all the way up the cycle to get to the end, what it basically means is she's already at the end. She can almost taste it. She can almost taste that ultimate ascension. She's been that close to it her entire life. So yes, she can't hop back. But she's seen it. She knows what it is. It's probably less exciting for her than someone who's been here all their life in the cycle, you know, in that life cycle, you know. So she knows what it's like. It's just a matter of getting there. But it's nothing new to her. She's maybe the wisest court in the tarot. Earth of Earth. The most down to earth and the most grounded you can get. Which is what I love to be and what I love to see. So yeah, that was my little... So how do I read the court cards? Mostly as energies. I'm sensing this energy about you or about them or whatever. I have had readings for people, especially with friends, where they told me about a situation and we pulled a couple cards on it, where there were other persons at play and where I was like, hey, hold up. I remember this one occasion where I literally had the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Swords sitting across from each other, staring each other dead in the eye, and I said, a very sensitive woman that's going with her gut and with her heart a lot and with her intuition is being confronted by someone who's being very irrational about things, and y'all are going to have to work that out. And you know, that's where it was very clear to me that it was about actual people, because I already knew the situation, and I was so glad that those two cards laid down on the table just like that, because I was like, this is exactly the situation that is going on right now. You are too much into your emotions. She is being way too rational about things, but y'all need to work this out together because you're at an impasse. So you know, that can happen. But usually that's just for friends or people who I know or people who have given me a very detailed situation already. Not so much with, you know, random people I do readings for. I was actually reading the guidebook for a 2003 deck called Titania's Star Tarot, which was actually, you know, it's a cute deck, but I don't know, the guidebook is kind of, I don't know which school of tarot she follows, but it's not one I've ever known. However, yeah, what I found interesting was that it's very much about, yeah, reading them as people. So I don't do that a lot, but I'm not opposed to it, and I sometimes do, depending on the situation. So, but mostly energies. Also, I recommend you read this book, even if you're not into the Thoth, because this teaches you a lot about the actual history of esoteric tarot, rather than, you know, a cute, aesthetically looking book that just has the same old Rider-Waite-Smith pictorial guide to the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings copy pasted in them. This is actually someone who knows what they're talking about, and it's a fun read. He reads really funnily, like he really makes you laugh a lot, like especially in the chapter where he talks. There's like 30 pages on why the back of the Thoth Tarot looks like it does. It's hysterical. He actually does that right here, where he explains why the back design is the way it is, and he's like, I know this may come across as bullshit and like extremely weird, and you're probably thinking, what is this guy talking about? But bear with me, because it will be important later, you know, and he constantly teases you a little bit like that. So this is a very good book. You kind of want to get into that a little bit. Especially in regards to reading the court cards as energies rather than tall man with dark hair, older, will like business a lot, you know? Like, I don't see that in a lot of new Little White books anymore, but it really used to be like that. Let me see if I can... let's see what Miss Sonova wrote about it in her Scorpio Sea Tarot guidebook. I'm actually kind of curious about that now. And I'm really, really, really doing this on a whim, so I hope she doesn't fail me. Quartz, 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 Knight of Cups. Knows how wonderful he is, the life of the party. Trickster, playboy. Okay, so we are kind of getting personalities here. So that's interesting. I just don't know if that style of reading is for me. I'm more of an energy reader as is. So yeah, so there are still quite a lot of Little White books or guidebooks that do read the quartz like that. Another deck I would really recommend is you get the original Thoth. This is the mini, which is regular tarot size. Also, always would recommend getting a nice Rider-Waite-Smith. Yeah, and like I said, this book, the Tarot and Divination Cards, a Visual Archive by Laetitia Barbier. Really, really good, interesting book. If you want to kind of get into Thoth, but you can read court cards as energies with any deck, but sometimes people don't really like the Lady Frida Harris artwork. I didn't either until I read that book, and then I was like, I appreciate this so much more now. The Zillick Tarot by Christine Zillick is a Thoth-based deck, fairly affordable. Liberty Tarot of the Stars Eternal by Los Scarabeo is a pretty good Thoth-inspired deck. Also very affordable, you know, which will kind of help you get the basic gist of it. And then this is, you know, because Thoth and Rider-Waite-Smith are Golden Dawn, but the Hermetic Tarot is also a good deck that you could use for your Thoth studies if you're more into that monochromatic kind of stuff. And then there's also the Outgrow Yourself Tarot, but I don't know where I put that shit because I kind of wanted to use that later. Oh, it's right here, actually. The Outgrow Yourself Oracle in Tarot is also fabulous. It's also Thoth-based. So, really interesting decks, really interesting books. This is how I read court cards. If you would like to respond, because I'm actually very curious about how you guys read the courts, because there's so many different things to learn, because I always used to do it a certain way. Then I read that book and I was like, yeah, that's my way now. But maybe you guys have like super inspiring ideas as well, and I'm kind of curious about them. So I kind of want to start a VR called #DoYouEvenCourt. And I would love for you guys to upload, maybe tag me, put the hashtag in the name, because I want to know how you read the court cards in your tarot deck, because I feel like it's fun to inspire each other, give each other new points of view. I won't be judging you at all. I hope you won't be judging me either. It's just that everyone reads so differently that I love, you know, picking up bits and pieces, writing them into my little notebook and learn from each other. I think that's the most fun thing in this whole community. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see your VRs. Sounds super interesting. So love you, and bye-bye.